I should have. The next question I'm going to ask, I realize I should have started with this with you, Max, because the logistics of making this movie are fascinating. The first 10 minutes demonstrate how dangerous things were on the ground. How were you able to get that footage and lots of the other footage you portray or present in A La Calle?
That was definitely the first challenge we had to face, the first test, if you will, when we got connected with the executive producer, Greg Little, who had access to Leopoldo's story, but also had the interest in creating this project. The first question was like, okay, well, I've approached other people, other film crews, other documentarians about this project, and all of them say, no way, you're crazy. We're not going down to Venezuela. It's too dangerous. And so his first question was to me and to Nelson was, can you do this? And the answer was yes, but the only way we're going to be able to do it is if we empower local creatives, local Venezuelans who understand and have lived that life underneath dictatorship and underneath that type of censorship. Um, and what we did. Unfortunately, many of the people who helped us with this project had to remain unnamed or had to be named in pseudonyms because of the danger to them being posed by being directly involved in a project like this. But what we did is we leaned very heavily on local creators because they understood how to move in Caracas, how to move in a place where intelligence, like the intelligence officers like the Sabine, are constantly looking for people speaking out and publishing things against the government. And by allowing them to maintain control or to be the boots on the ground, I think that was what allowed us to stay active for so long. We were filming for 5 years, or the project was active for about 5 years. And I just don't think that if I had gone down, or if Nelson had gone down, or if we had gotten people who weren't familiar or who take certain things for granted living in a place like America and trying to go down to a place like Venezuela and operate, I think we wouldn't have had any luck being able to track the progress of everything for so long. And so that's what we did. It was very difficult. I will say it's very, very hard to direct from afar, encrypt all your footage onto a hard drive, smuggle it out of a country, and then review the last 3 months of footage that you've been collecting, hoping that it was what you wanted. It's very, very difficult to make a film that way, but I think that's the type of thing you have to be doing if you prioritize the safety of your crew more than anything.
So several times I've mentioned how the film A La Calle depicts the sacrifices and suffering of the Venezuelan people. One scene that shows the lengths some Venezuelans have gone to survive, I want to show right now. Let's have a look at this, and Max, I'll ask you about it on the other side.
Un estudio realizado por 3 universidades venezolanas a nivel nacional demuestran que un 80% de los hogares venezolanos están en situación de inseguridad alimentaria.
La gente que quiere revolución se muere de hambre. Mira cómo está Venezuela. Un país tan rico, con petróleo, oro. Mira cómo estamos los venezolanos en el Guaire. Llenándonos de mierda para poder conseguir comida para nosotros comer. Tienen atrás como ladrones, como piedreros, nosotros no somos nada de eso. Yo soy una persona que tengo 5 años en ciencia, operador portuario, gandulero. Estoy en el Guairo por la situación del país.
And just as that clip was fading out was the key scene. I mean, he talks about how people in Venezuela are starving, and he is in a sewer. He and the other gentleman are in a sewer, pulling things up clearly from the sewer floor. But at the very end of that clip, we faded out just a little bit too soon. You can see they found what looks to be 2 pieces of gold jewelry, which I'm assuming they will then take to turn into cash to then try to buy food if there's food in the supermarkets. As you mentioned, this has been a 5-year project, Max. Did you expect to see that kind of deprivation before you started working on this film?
That's a really difficult question. It's hard to know what my expectations were going into this project because I think as someone who's lived a relatively privileged life, or a very privileged life, I've been born and raised in the United States and in a stable government where my money continues to have value in a way that I can predict, and the supermarkets are always full with the food that I want. It's hard to understand or to imagine the types of poverty or types of desperation that are out there. And I don't know that 5-6 years ago when I started this project, I was fully aware of what that could mean and where that can go. In fact, I don't think most people are fully aware. They think they can understand it, and I think they can kind of imagine it because they see figures or they've watched a lot of CNN clips and all that. But I think there's a stark difference between even watching our documentary and then getting to know people like this, like we were able to with Randall, for example, and what that desperation does to you psychologically beyond just what you physically have to do to survive. So no, I don't think I was really prepared for that, or prepared to see those types of images, or to see that type of desperation. But I think more than anything, I don't think I was prepared myself emotionally and psychologically to be so close to that type of suffering. It is something that will stay with me forever, and I think that it's going to be. I mean, I've already thought about it. Like, if I do another project moving forward, I will have to be really careful, maybe not to do something on the subject matter like this, or I'll have to take some time because it is very difficult. And I also think that I don't mean to go on too long, but as a documentarian, you're kind of forced to straddle this like thing as like creating a piece of entertainment for people to consume, and then also becoming an activist just by nature of being close to this type of suffering, and then just having a job, right? That being your job, and so there's like this like weird mix that happens, and you're creating this film, and you're ultimately, in a way, creating a piece of entertainment so that people go on HBO and watch it and like it and are moved by it. But that isn't like it's hard to know that that's what you're doing after you spend this much time doing it. Really, what you want is something like this to move the needle. And that's kind of what this work is right now is about.